Kia ora, welcome back to my little spot on YouTube. This is the Rebecca Ann Knits Knitting Podcast, and today I am coming to you with a little bit of an impromptu video. So I'm not super well prepared, but I have this little moment in time and I thought I would share with you some of my knitting plans for 2025. So as you can see, I have quite an extensive stash, and 2025 for me is going to be a year of knitting the projects that I already have planned with all of this yarn. Maybe not all of it. There's quite a lot here. There's definitely more than 1 year's worth. So if that interests you, feel free to sit back and enjoy this little video. Quick introduction for any of you who are new. My name is Bex. I am a mum to 3 girls, a wife, a newly graduated midwife, and an avid knitter. And I live in Hutt Valley in Wellington in New Zealand. And this is just my little spot on YouTube where I like to share about all the things I've been crafting. Mostly knitting, occasionally crochet, and I'm not really good at anything else. So if you are interested in hearing some of the sweaters and plans of what I might make in 2025, settle in and join me to chat and look at yarn, basically. My last video, Everything I Knit in 2024, kind of got a bit cut off at the end because my microphone audio went flat. So sorry about that. The bit that got cut off was basically me talking about how I track my knits, and that basically I just have a note on my phone where I write down what my write in there what my whips are or what my plans are, and then tick the little checkbox once I've finished knitting that garment or item, accessory. And I do much the same for my plans. I've just printed it off as my notes today since this is impromptu. This is just what I have on the notes app on my phone. And you'll see I've just got a whole pile of very basic, what the garment or item is, and then what yarn I kind of have in mind for it. Some of these yarns you'll find I've actually purchased on purpose for these projects, and others I have purchased the yarn first and then found the perfect project for that yarn, which is kind of how I do it more often than not, to be honest. It's very rare that I will go out and purchase yarn specifically for a project. Usually I'm inspired by a new pattern that comes out, or a pattern that I find, or a garment someone else has made, and then I go hunt in my stash for something that would be appropriate to knit it with. Yeah, because I tend to buy yarn when I see it and when I fall in love with it, not specifically when I need it, which is why I end up with so much. So I'm just going to go through and just pull out different yarns as we go and just tell you what I plan to make for them. I highly doubt I'll get through all these projects in 2025. Some of them were on my kind of make 9 for 2024 and I never got round to them. So they're still hanging on. Some of these yarns I've had in stash for years. I first started knitting for myself and sort of collecting yarn in 2020. And so some of these yarns have been around with me for nearly 5 years now. And others are recent purchases. So let's have a little chat, shall we? The first thing on my list, which is a new release that has just come out, is the Staffin sweater by the Crayabaya. I did apply to test knit this one and didn't get into that test knit. It was so highly applied for, that test knit, which is fine because I had plenty else going on. So I've been planning to knit one as soon as it comes out, but I'm trying to clear my needles a little bit because I have a whole lot of projects going on at the moment. But what I am planning to use for when I do cast on my Staffin sweater is this yarn here. This is a recycled fibre blend from Wild Earth Yarns. Now they are one of our only remaining mills here in New Zealand. And this is their, sorry about the rustling, this is their 8-ply or DK weight recycled fibre blend. This is, on the packet it's called shade 11, but it's like a sage colour. And it's 100 metres to 50 grams, and it's a recycled Polworth blend. And this is a woolen spun yarn. Wild Earth Yarns are a woolen spun mill. So they have these, this is their recycled fibre, so it's kind of leftovers from other batches that they make, and they put it together. And so this is really affordable yarn. I brought several colorways of this recycled fiber blend, and this sage is the one that I have put aside for making a staffin. So I'm really excited about that. It feels a little bit lanolin-y almost still. It's super lofty, and although it only has 100 meters for 50 grams, which is a bit lighter than what the yarn recommended for staffin, because it does state that it should be like a worsted to Aran weight gauge, I have no doubt that this will bloom up and be absolutely fine on its own. I will swatch, have not yet, but that is my plan for the staffin. I am definitely going to make the sweater, not the cardigan. And that is as far as I've got with that one. Something that's been in my stash for a while and been trying to get used but hasn't been yet is this beautiful spin cycle that I received in a yarn swap. And I have 5 skeins of this that I was very kindly gifted when I did a yarn swap with Megan from a Naughty Mess podcast, and some of her friends as well. And I tried to knit this up into a, what's it called? Framed sweater earlier in 2024, but I just don't love it. And so I'm going to frog that. And what my next idea for what to use this for is for a warp and weft by Jessie Maid Designs. And so I'm planning to hold the spin cycle. This is the worsted weight version, so it's Dream State, and this colorway is called Heart's Eye. And this is a 50 gram skein, and you get 150 yards. So these I'm going to hold with, I don't think you'll be able to, you can't see it, but I have this gigantic black. This is a wool and possum blend from a local to me clothing mill called the Wool Yarns Mill, and once a year they have a sale where they sell off the excess yarns on cones for hand knitters. They manufacture clothing, and this is a wool possum blend. So not merino, it's wool, but it does have possum fibre in there as well, and I'm going to hold that with this and try and make the warp and weft. I can't say that that's really high on my list of things to make this year, because I have tried using this yarn and it's kind of frogged, so I'm a little bit uninspired by it at the moment, but I do ultimately love it, and this ultimately needs to become something stunning. So that's the plan for that one, eventual plan. Speaking of that black cone, it is on my list, but further down, I plan to also use that black cone. That's over a kilo worth of yarn there. It's a DK weight. And I plan to also use that to make a Lanark sweater by the Crayabea for my husband. I've made him one sweater in the past, and I got it finished at the end of a winter. My husband's 6'6", very slim, so his garments take quite a long time to make, not because of the diameter. Actually, he fits a similar chest circumference to myself, but a lot of length in the sleeves and the body. It just keeps going and going and going. But anyway, I would like to make a Lanark sweater for him, and out of all the yarn that I own, he chose the plain black cone for the yarn choice. So that is also on my plans, hopefully for 2025. Let's see what's next to talk about. I would love to make a Radvent cardigan. Now, I made a Radvent cardigan in 2023 with my advent from Mama Wooling, and so it's made with mini skeins, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a cool construction, the Radvent. You actually start with the sleeves, and you knit the 2 sleeves, and then you knit across the back, and then you graft it together across the back, and then you pick up and knit the fronts into a band. It's a real, no, actually, I think you do the front. I can't remember exactly. I just remember you start with sleeves, and I made my previous one symmetrical, so I knit both sleeves matching and then knit in the middle and then did a contrasting band and cuffs. For this one, I would like to use this beautiful yarn that I have from Mama Wooling as well. This is called Lilacs Over the Fence. This is her plush fingering base, and it's a DK weight pattern, so I would like to hold it with this cake of cashmere fluff that I have. I've lost the exact content, but it's a cashmere merino brush yarn that I got from Yarn on Cone, and so I'm going to hold that with that and make the Ravelry cardigan, and I'm going to do the button band accents etc. in this one, which is also a mama wooling. Gorgeous, eh? I've always said that I don't like purple, but I have come to realise that actually, yes, I do like purple. Not so much like that royal purple, Cadbury purple kind of colour, but like these soft lilacs and the deep, deep aubergine purples. Yes, yes, I do like those. So that is a plan. The Ravelry cardigan's by Amber O'Brien. Yes, and I previously knit it as an advent pattern. But this one will be just in a solid colour, and I'm hoping because of the way it's constructed that I won't need to alternate skeins, and because I'm holding a fluff with it, I think it will disperse it enough. Also, mama wooling does such even hand dyeing that I'm not too concerned. Another with some more mama wooling. This is all mama wooling in here, by the way, so you might see me pulling from there quite often. That's been on my in my eye, kind of like looking for a while, is the heirloom quilt cardigan. Now this came out in 2024 and there was quite a big craze about it. It's quilt squares, they're knit flat in colour work, and then you piece them all together and then you do some knitting to combine it. It sounds like a really big project, but a really, really fun project. I made some crochet granny square cardigans. I don't know if it was last year. I think it was the year before. And I think it was 2023 that I made 2 of those. And I really enjoyed the modular knitting of just doing a square at a time, and it can just kind of be a background project. I didn't really love the vibes of the original heirloom quilt cardigan, but when I saw that there was one done by, who was it? Sprinkled Fibers, was it? No, was it something? I can't remember exactly who did it, but I'll put in the inspiration pic, and theirs was just amazing. And it reminded me of some yarn I have in my stash, and I was like, now I want that cardigan. So I'm going to make an heirloom quilt cardigan with this, which is this one has the tag on it. This one's called Pop Rocks. It's also by Mama Wooling on her plush fingering base, which is 85% extra fine merino and 15% nylon. Okay, I'm going to use those. It's kind of like the background, and then the quilt squares are going to be in the hot pink, which is called Pinkies Up. Okay, these are all Mama Woolings. And then I also have this skein here, also from that yarn swap, which I've kind of been saving and not knowing what to do with, but I think I'm going to incorporate it into this project. Oh, it's got a little smoshed. And this is the Wandering Flock skein, which is not something I can get here in New Zealand, really. It would cost me a fortune to get it here, but this was from my yarn swap. This is extra fine merino baby alpaca and nylon. And this is called Moonrise, this colorway, and I think I'll incorporate that in some of the squares as well, because I think that just goes really well. So those, and again, it's a DK weight pattern, so I'm going to combine this with a mohair. I have a whole pile of mohair up behind me on cones, and I will use just the most natural cream one to go with. Oh no, actually, I think what I was planning to do is to use the real pale pink, because the background of this Pop Rocks is actually a really pale pink. So use that in the background held with this. For this one, oh, I don't think you can see it. Oh, my little sheepy's here. You can't see him either. I'll see if I pull it forward. Giant pink cone. A giant pink cone of mohair here to go with the pink. And there is a more lilac one to go with the lilac. They're not exact matches, but I think they'll blend away. All these mohairs are from a yarn store here in New Zealand. It's an online store only. They're called Yarn on Cone. and she imports these cones mainly from China. And they're all kind of like different blends. This one is 32% wool, 32% alpaca, and 30% nylon. And you get 1,300 meters to 100 grams. So it's a really lightweight, very fine strand of fluff. And I find it actually works really well at bringing a fingering weight up to a DK weight, a light DK weight gauge, because the fluff puffs it up, even if it's not actually like quite as thick as the other one. This one is 34% mohair, 34% virgin wool, 28% nylon, and 4% elastic. And there's so much on this cone. What's the pink blend? They're all a little the same but different. 70% mohair and 30% nylon, this one. So none of them have the silk core, so they don't really have that shine to them. They're a lot more matte, because they just have the wool, mohair, a little bit of alpaca, nylon. But I find them really good and so much more cost effective, especially than buying a hand-dyed mohair. But even just buying any commercial silk mohair is really pricey, so using those cones works great for me. So that is the heirloom quilt cardigan plan. Another plan that's still hanging over from 2024 is the Instant Crush by Huhi Lohateli. This was a pattern that came out and I didn't like the original. Again, I think it's just when it's not in the colours that I really like. I love pinks, I love teals, I like midnight blues, I like naturals. I'm not really into those like kind of moody or autumnal orange golden colours so much. And so when patterns come out in those colours, I kind of don't find them inspiring until I see somebody else knit one in a completely different palette, and then I love it. So Instant Crush, I saw again my friend Megan from a Naughty Mess podcast. She made a version of Instant Crush in very similar colours to this, and this is what I am going to do for mine. I bought this Drops brushed alpaca on a sale, I think last Christmas, and haven't touched it yet really, but I have a sweater quantity in each of these colours. The cream is actually mohair made by Skeins. It's a DK weight mohair, but the other three are Drops alpaca silk. Can you see that there? It's their uni colour, and it's brushed alpaca and mulberry silk. So and they're kind of all a DK weight. So I think the Instant Crush is knit with regular weight mohair held double, but this will be a DK weight mohair, and I'm going to do these colours. I think I'm going to do the teal as kind of the background colour, and then have the others as the pop. Yeah, so that's going to be really beautiful. Instant Crush, and these kind of fun bright colours. Very me. I love teal, I love pink, I love deep blue. So that's definitely a me. What else? Wellsbury sweater. This one is still hanging over too. I've had this plan for a long time. This is a pattern by Amy Loudon of And Other Knits, and she designed this sweater to use up single skeins in your stash. Again, it's a DK weight. I prefer to knit a DK weight sweater, can you tell? And okay, let's see. To use up those special skeins that you have in your stash that you don't know what to do with. And this is what I'm going to do with these. She has three. It's not going to go back on. Different colorways that she incorporates. And so do I. 3 single skeins that I have that are kind of special skeins, or ones that I don't have much of an idea of what to do with on their own. Okay, that was a bit messy, but here we go. This one here that the label won't go back on, this teal is from Strawberry Patches, who's a beautiful yarn dyer based here in Auckland, New Zealand. This is called Iceberg, and it's organic merino and polewood. Okay, and then I have this skein here, which is Lilium Pine Fiber Arts. This is a US based hand dyer, I believe, and this is their Daylily sock, superwash merino nylon 80/20. And then this one is a Hedgehog Fibres, and this one is called, where's the tag? Oh, this is the problem with storing a yarn this way. They often slip themselves out of their puffs. Nah, it's not obviously there. I can't remember exactly what this one is called colorway wise, but it is a Hedgehog Fibres and it is their socky base, I believe. Unless I pull that all down, I'm not going to find it. I don't think so. I might have to leave that. But anyway, they look completely different. Again, DK weight pattern. So this will be held with a pink mohair cone. This will be held with the cream mohair cone. And this one, because this is a solid, not a speckle, and I couldn't find anything that was kind of this aqua tealy tone that was speckled, I'm going to hold this one with a skein of speckled mohair, and this is by Yarn Therapy, a New Zealand hand dyer, and this mohair is called Lolly Cake. So this will be paired with with just a cream mohair, and this with just a pink mohair, maybe the pale pink mohair, just to like tone it down more than buff it up. And that will become the Wellsbury sweater. I believe this is worked flat, this sweater, and in sections. I think you work like panels and then you sew them together. So I'm really looking forward to doing a different construction and getting better at sewing up, because I'm not particularly good at that at the moment. Yeah, I really love that, and I've had that plan for quite a while. And this is kind of quite in keeping with her project pictures, her sample, which I just absolutely loved. So I'm sorry, I realize I'm looking at the wrong spot on my camera. So sorry if you don't feel like I'm looking at you. I'll try and do better. Yeah, I'm really excited for this, and to use up a few single skeins that I have that are all absolutely beautiful in their own right and one-offs, but not like I don't really have a project in plan for them on their own. Okay, a few more to go. Can you see I'm not going to get through all of these? But all of these projects are here. I have yarn for them. They're in my stash. I'm excited about them. I want to knit them. It's just that I signed up for so many test knits last year that I didn't get a chance to get to all these projects that I really am inspired and excited about. And why go out and buy more new yarn when I have all this beauty with all these plans right here? I mean, and you'll see by the end of the time I get to the list, I'm going to have hardly touched. It's going to look still exactly like I've barely touched this yarn. So there's plenty to be getting on with. After Wellsbury, the Windfell by Jennifer Steingast. This has been in my queue since 2020, but only last year at Capital Fibre Fest did I find the perfect yarn to knit it up in. That was in June, so I'm hoping to get this knit up before we get back to Capital Fibre Fest again. It's actually in May this year. That's the only kind of like yarn festival kind of event that's nearby to me. And I brought this from a real small farm producer that were trading there. And they only really trade at shows. And so I'm really hoping to get this knit up before then, so that I can see if I want some more, because it's absolutely beautiful. These people are called Starcrest Farm. They have their own farm. They from sheep to skein produce this wool themselves. It's 100% Polworth, and it's a woolen spun construction, which I have come to really love, a woolen spun yarn. This is a fingering weight, 370 meters for 100 grams. It's a hand wash, so yeah, this yarn has been produced from our flock of Polworth sheep on our small farm in Oxford, New Zealand. It's spun and processed by Wild Earth Yarns, who are actually in Christchurch, in Oxford. Yeah, so beautiful. So the Winfield, this is, again, I'm copying the colours of the sample because I really love it in this one. The whole sweater is in this beautiful cream, so I have 3 of those. And then it has 2 blues along with the cream for the colour work. And so they had blue mini skeins, and so I was able to pick up. I've been looking, I mean, to get a like undyed cream base is not difficult. To get two blues that just tone in perfectly with each other to do the color work, what I was finding really challenging, and then kind of the right quantities. So they had, yeah, so I have three of the dark and two of the slightly lighter because that works with the quantities that you needed along with the cream. And oh, yes, it's gonna be so good. I can't wait. I can't wait to knit all of these. I'm so excited to knit all of these garments. Most of them. Some more than others, of course. But like when I think about the finished garment of each of these, I'm just like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, I want that so much. And I actually want to knit it. I want to enjoy the process of knitting it. And I'm more of a product knitter, I would say, than a process knitter, but I thoroughly enjoy the process when it's a project that I have picked the yarn for and I've fallen in love with the whole thing. We need to keep moving along. So another one that I've had in my stash for the longest time is the yarn that I have for a pressed flowers cardigan. This is, I think, the first hand-dyed yarn that I ever purchased, and so it's a little bit tattered because it's been moved around in my stash for probably 5 years. This is by Marmalade Yarn Co, a local New Zealand yarn dyer. A beautiful indie yarn dyer. She majority does this high twist base, which is not my favorite base, but I love this fade. This is 80% merino, 20% nylon, and I have this beautiful berries fade going on here, and so I'd like to use this to make a pressed flowers. I think cardigan because this is a fingering weight, and I may well hold it with a strand of mohair because I think that pattern's written for a sport weight, but I'll have to gauge swatch, haven't done that yet. So the fade for the flowers, and for the background colour I have this dusky greyish grey purple called Amethyst Sand, and it's 100% wool, 400 meters from skeins. So and that I will hold with probably some kind of mohair because I don't think I have enough to hold it double. I'm going to hold that with a mohair probably. Well, it could maybe go with this beigey grey one if I want to go more beigey grey, or maybe with the purpley one. No, the purpley one's a bit light. Oh no, I have the perfect mohair to go with this. I forgot. I'm so dumb sometimes. This doesn't have a ball band, but this is a trial run mohair wool blend that Skeins did. And it's called, I've forgotten because I've lost all the bands for it. It did come with bands, but I've lost the bands. I can't remember what the colorway was called, but it's like a grey purple, and that will go perfectly with that for the background color. Yeah, so that is my pressed flowers, most likely cardigan. There is the pullover version as well now, but that is written for a heavier weight, so I will gauge swatch and see which one I feel like it fits best, but I'm feeling cardigan vibes for this. Should really try and put some of these away as we go, or I'm going to be just surrounded in piles of yarn that I have to put away after. So that's that one. Yeah, so that's probably not my oldest stash yarn, but my most original hand dyed that I ever purchased. Yeah, so I'm really excited to knit that up. I've nearly destashed that set a few times because I've just had it so long and it hasn't become anything yet. But I keep holding back because I do have a plan for it, and I am a little bit sentimental about the fact that it is the first hand dyed I ever brought. Yeah, so hopefully that will become a pressed flowers this year. Another Jen Steinglass pattern that I have had in my queue for probably since 2020 is Garden Gate, and I really love again the original sample colorways, and I would like to knit this up in this yarn here, which is Rubber Worsted by Outlaw Yarn. This is another worsted weight yarn. It's a woolen spun Polworth. Oh, sorry, no. This is 80% merino and 20% half breed. This was an experimental shade called Kidderoo, which is one of our native New Zealand birds. So this, and then I got this skein from that same farm yarn from Starcrest Farm to be, this is the natural colour to hold as the contrast. So that's a garden gate in my future. I have had this yarn for a while and I struggled to know what to pair it with, and I kind of looked at Outlaw for a colourway to use alongside this for the contrast colour and didn't find anything that fitted quite right. But this I really love. It's natural and undyed, and it's beautiful, will go beautifully. This is again considered the 4-ply, so I'll hold this double. Yeah, and Outlaw yarns are kind of like a small batch dye, like commercial dye plant. So this is not hand dyed, but it is small business batch dyed. Their yarns are beautiful and they often have kind of dye experiments, and I brought this off a D-stash, actually, a wholesale quantity. But it was one of those ones that it was an experimental shade, and so they did end up selling it for a slightly less price than the colours that became their normal standard range. That was Garden Gate. Okay, Pink Velvet. Who's this by? Andrea Mowry. This I think is the one that has been on my queue for the longest, and it still hasn't been knit up, partially because it is a fingering weight sweater, which does take quite a lot of determination to commit to knitting. I am going to make this in this beautiful yarn here. This is called Irish Cream. It's a 4-ply natural fibre and possum blend from Skeins. So it's a fingering weight 178 meters for 50 grams, and I'm going to use that. And then for her one is knit up in a Surrey alpaca silk and a yak blend yarn, and I did have some yak blend yarn that I was saving for it, but I ended up using that for a cardigan that I knit last year, and so I bought this possum blend yarn, which is kind of very similar and how it knits up to be the substitute. Andrea Mowry's one is knit in the same colorway but on 2 different bases, but it kind of reads this, and so this is what I'm going to use. This is a this is not it. This is not it. That is some mystery mohair that I have in my hand-dyed mohair that I have in my stash that I don't actually know whose it is. This is the one that I'm going to use. This is a Mama Willing, but this is a really old one of hers. This is her previous tag. She doesn't use them like this anymore. This is Surrey Silk and Brushed Baby Surrey Alpaca. 300 meters for 50 grams, and this colorway is called Blushed. So I'm going to use that with the Irish Cream for. That's gorgeous, right? That is going to be my Pink Velvet at some point. Hopefully in the near future. Yeah, I just love that. And I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but this Blushed kind of has the like dirty kind of like blushed pink tones that just tone into this Irish Cream so beautifully. They're just a great pairing. I'm really happy with that. Next is Shocking Stripes. This is a pattern by Tori Yu, and I was actually recently got this pattern because I did a test knit for Tori Yu. I hadn't purchased the pattern yet, and she gifted it to me as my test knit reward. But I have this beautiful yarn from Vintage Pearls, another New Zealand hand dyer. This is Superstar Sport Edition, 70% Polworth, 20% Tusker Silk, and 10% black New Zealand Merino. This is called Natural Talent, so this is just barely dyed, not really. And I'm going to hold it with this one, which is the same base, but in a bright pink. So that'll be a shocking stripe, won't it? So obviously the natural is the background colour and the pink for the shocking stripes. And this is this, yeah, sport weight edition. So how many meters do we get here? 256 meters for 100 grams. And it's a hand wash. It's not superwash. You can see that although I own a lot of hand-dyed superwash yarn, I am also moving away from only using that, and I'm using a lot of, this is hand-dyed but hand wash. And like, this is a hand wash. The Wild Earth Yarns is definitely hand wash, not superwash treated. So I'm really enjoying the more soft but rustic, like more natural state yarns. I wouldn't say that they're rustic because none of these yarns I've talked about here have any kind of itch or prickle factor, but they are closer to their natural state. They're less processed and more woolly, which I love. It's so great. I've got 2 more sweaters and then 1 shawl to talk about. So let's do this one. I've had this slub yarn I brought quite a while ago on a D-stash. It's by Myro Yarns, who's another New Zealand hand dyer. And this is called Slubbing It. No More Lonely Nights is the colorway on this one, and it's this beautiful berry pink concoction. I've been really loving the deep purpley pinky berry shades. So I'm going to hold this with, what did I decide to hold this with? I was thinking about it just the other day. I think just a mohair. I think I was going to hold this with a strand of the cream and a strand of the pale pink and make a lento, which is a 16 stitch gauge. Yeah, that's what I was going to do, because I've previously made a lento with a slub and just 1 strand of mohair, and it's still a little bit gappy. I would like a slightly denser fabric, so this with 2 strands of mohair. And then I'm going to use this yarn for the kind of accents. Oh, sad. This is actually a skeins yarn, but a very old skeins yarn. And it was actually in my nana's stash that I was gifted when she passed away. And so I'm going to use this for like the cuff hem and the neckband and the cuff and the hem. This is Moody Hues by Skeins. Sorry, it's got a bit munted there. And this is 75% merino, 15% alpaca, and 10% possum. And I just thought that that purple really brings out some of the beautiful berry tones in this. So that's a really great plan. 2 years ago, I did the Year of the Lento in 2023, and I made, I think, 14 or 15 lentos over the year, at least 1 a month, and I haven't made one since. So, but I really enjoyed using the slub yarn in that kind of big gauge, and yeah, so I think that's going to be beautiful. And I only have 2 skeins of that, so it really needs to be something that has a bigger gauge, so I can get away with around 800 meters for a sweater. I have 2 balls of the purple, so 100 grams of that, and which I probably won't need that much, and 2 skeins of that. Sorry, there's another 2 sweaters because I missed one that I saved till the end. Mama Willing recently had a shop update, and she had this most utterly beautiful berry coloured fade, one of a kind 4 skein fade that I missed out on because there was only 2. And oh, I was so in love with it. And the other day I was feeling very sad that I had missed out on this berry fade, and I really, really wanted it, but I didn't have the money to spend at the time anyway. And so came out to console myself with my stash and discovered that I could make myself a berry fade with yarns from my stash. So I have come up with this, which is quite random but cool. This is some 12 ply bulky mohair that I recently brought on a D-stash. These 3 I brought on a D-stash, and this one I brought from Diana. Anyways, this is Glux yarns, and this one here is 2 Bare Hands, and this, which are hand dyed, and then this one here is not hand dyed. It's Ara Kurana painted Siri. It's an artesian yarn from, I actually don't know where it's from, Peru. Okay, so you can kind of see, I'm going to drop that one because that one's the same. You can kind of see that they fade. These are, like I said, 12 ply silk merinos, silk mohairs. And then I discovered in my stash that I had these 4 skeins, if I put them in the right order, which kind of fade as well. So you've got like a cream with a pink undertone, a pale pink, slightly purplier pink, and then a hot pink. And I compare them up. There's the 2 of the same mohairs in the middle, one each side. Oh, this is going to be hard to show. But can you kind of get it? I think if I do a fade and I just change one strand at a time and fade between the base colours and the mohairs, I think I will end up with something very beautiful. I feel like one of these blocks are lighter than the other, so I will definitely probably pair them that way. They're supposedly the same colourway, but one looks slightly lighter than the other. So if we do it like that, right, and then we hold, and then we have it like that, it works. I think it works. I'm obviously going to swatch this before I commit to the whole sweater, but I think it will be really beautiful and give me my dream of having a like pale pink to berry coloured faded sweater. I'm still not 100% on what pattern I'm going to use to make that, but what I think I'm going to do is use the pattern that's called City Limits. It's by Tennis Fibre Arts, and it's only for an 18 stitch gauge. Which this is definitely too thick to do at 18 stitches. It would be so dense, so I'd need to knit off pattern and go to maybe a 16 stitch gauge, but I don't just want to make a lento. But the City Limits is reversible, so you can wear it with that reverse with the purl side out or the knit side out, which I think is really cool. And I think I've noticed a lot of Andrea Mowry's patterns, Andrea Mowry, that are done in fade. She actually uses the purl side showing, and so it looks more seamless as a fade. I was really eyeing up the Fade Neve by Andrea Mowry, which has all the bobbles, and I would still love to make that, but I would like to make that with a specifically dyed fade, so it's really seamless, whereas something I've made up from stash, I would kind of like, I don't feel like it's quite right. Also, gauge is totally wrong for that pattern. Yeah, so I think that will work though. I think it will work. I'll use the City Limits and I will just make my gauge more like 16 stitches rather than 18, and so I'll just knit a size smaller and something like that. It should work out. Do some knit maths. I'm really stoked to have found something to use these for, because they only have 200 meters each skein, so 400 meters. I mean, what could I make with that? And I have 2 of those, but I only have 1 each of these. So to be able to combine them all and hopefully make a beautiful berry faded sweater, I'm excited for that. That's probably my most recent compile. I only came up with that a couple days ago. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, I have one more cardigan and then a shawl. I'll talk about the shawl because that's easy. I want to do the shifty is it called it's the shifty cowl lay. It's the what's the shawl called by Andrea Mowry. Andrea, why do I keep calling it Angela? Andrea Mowry. The shifty one, the one with the color changing yarn. Anyway, I have all these colors from Skeins in their pulse yarn, which is designed to mimic ish. Sorry, a bit of rustling here. I should have got that out sooner, sorry. Kind of like spin cycle yarns, that kind of fractal spun situation. But yes, so I have 4 different colorways of the pulse, which I am going to use to make a shifty shawl. which I think is really beautiful. Lots of pink tones in there, some purpley tones, some more blue tones in this one. But there's some blue in this one as well. And I have 2 or 3 of each of these, which is a DK weight. I think that will be so fun to knit up. This one and this one are the same colorway. This is called Flutter. So you can see it's quite a lot of variance in the colorways. This one pairs with, these ones look a bit more similar, but this one's definitely got more pinky tones. The blue ones are quite similar, but a bit lighter, a bit more tealy on the outside of this one. Yeah, so anyways, that's going to be not the night shift, is it? I don't know, it's got something to do with shift. But the shawl version, not the cowl, because I never wear cowls, but I do enjoy a shawl. The last one that I really, really want to make, and I'm undecided about the yarn, which is why I've saved it for last, is the Midland Cardigan by Laura Penrose, which has just come out last weekend. I've been eyeing this up since she started talking about it 2 years ago. My problem is that I have 3 contenders for the yarn for this sweater, for this cardigan, and I don't know which one to do first. Maybe I will actually eventually do all 3. So let me know, comment below and let me know which of these 3 yarns you think would be the best for my first version. The first one I have is this. This is Southlander by Truly Myrtle for skeins. Skeins for Truly Myrtle. She did a custom, she's a designer here in New Zealand, and she did some custom colours, her own line, and that's the Truly Myrtle ones. This is the Southlander yarn. It's 100% New Zealand wool. This colourway is called Rebel, and I love it. My friend Helen gave me this for Christmas, and I adore it. It's 200 meters for 100 grams. In Laura's pattern, she talks about using a woolly wool, which this is, non-superwash. But she talks about using a yarn that's more like 230 to 250 meters per 100 grams, so a lighter DK, which is the only reason I'm hesitating slightly on this. This is my next contender, which is same meterage, but this is a Possum Merino blend. Again, like 200 meters for 100 grams. So slightly heavier than what she calls for, but imagine statement cardigan, neutral, would go with everything cardigan. Or I have another garment quantity of the same, this one that I used, I have pinned for Garden Gate. I have another sweaters quantity of that. Same base, doesn't have labels though. This one was sold as a seconds because it has some dye variants in it. But this is the Rebel base by Outlaw Yarn. And this one has 250 meters for 100 grams, which is almost exactly what she calls for. And I do think it would be stunning in this moody teal. I just don't know, guys. I'm most drawn to the pink. Like, the pink is really calling to me to knit it up. And I do think it would look absolutely stunning, because I think Hershey has a sample in a similar color to this, and it looks beautiful and classic. And she has a sample in like a really bright, vibrant, like yellowy green citron kind of color, and it's show-stopping. And I'm like, this is a show-stopping color, the pink. This is a really like moody, beautiful, stunning classic color, and this would be everything. Maybe I just have to make 3, but I don't know. Vote below. Which should I knit up first for my Midland cardigan? This is definitely high on the list of what I want to knit up soon, but I have to decide which one. Help. Yeah, I have other plans. As you can see, this yarn wall almost looks untouched still, and I have plans for a lot of other plans for these yarns as well. These aren't the only plans that I have. have other pairings going on. I have other plans and sweaters in my queue and in my mind for some of these yarns. But this was enough for today. These are the ones that are exciting me the most, that are inspiring me, that I kind of have front of mind for like, what should I pick next? Yeah, even as I was talking away at this, I was like, oh, but I have this plan. Oh, and I have this plan. Oh, and I haven't talked about that yarn yet. But I think at 50 minutes, that's probably enough yarn touring for now. And so leave me a comment below. Let me know, what do you think I should cast on next? What are you excited about of seeing in my stash? Is there anything behind me that you would love me to pull out and show you and talk about what plans I have for it? Yeah, what shall I cast on, guys? Share with me your thoughts. Which colour should my Midland cardigan be? And yeah, where shall I start with using some of this delicious, delightful, beautiful yarn and knitting it into gorgeous garments? Thank you so much for joining me today. You can find me online here on YouTube. It's Rebecca Ann Knits Podcast. I've had the same name, Rebecca Ann Knits, on Instagram and on Ravelry. So you can check out any of my past projects on Ravelry, or you can check out what I've been knitting. I'm going to try and be a bit better this year at sharing what my FOs on Instagram as well. So yeah, thanks for joining me, and hopefully I will see you again soon for a more regular podcast, so you can see what I'm currently knitting on and what I have finished over the first month of 2025. Thanks guys, all the best, enjoy your crafts, happy knitting. Ka kite.